The station was almost empty. Cold air bit into my skin as I waited for the last train. My shoulders sagged under the weight of the day, and all I wanted was to go home. Then I saw her. An old woman sat hunched near the far bench, trembling, her arms wrapped around herself. Her coat was thin, ripped at the sleeves, barely holding together. For a second I thought of walking past. She wasn't my problem. But then her eyes lifted. They locked with mine. Something in them made my steps falter. It wasn't just the cold. Her eyes carried loneliness, sorrow, a kind of quiet betrayal. I swallowed hard, pulled off my scarf, and walked over. "Here," I said, holding it out. "You'll freeze without this." Her lips quivered. "No, you keep it. I have another at home. Take it." I wrapped it gently around her neck before she could protest. Her fingers clutched the fabric like it was gold. "Why are you here so late?" I asked. She hesitated. "Because there's nowhere else to go." The words sank into me heavier than the cold. "You don't have family?" I asked softly. Her mouth twitched. "Family? Once, not anymore." The silence that followed pressed on me. I sat beside her, ignoring the icy bench. "My name's Mira," she whispered after a pause. "And yours?" "Armin," I said. "I shouldn't even be here tonight. Missed my train earlier, maybe it was meant to happen." Her lips curved into a faint, brittle smile. "Maybe." I rubbed my hands together for warmth. "Mira, what happened? Why are you sitting here alone?" Her eyes flicked to the ground. For a moment I thought she wouldn't answer. Then, in a voice soft as breaking glass, she said, "My son left me." The words cut deeper than the night's cold. "He promised to care for me," she continued. "After his father died, he swore I would never be alone. But once he found success, once he married into money, I became invisible. A burden." I clenched my fists. "So he just abandoned you here? At a station? Like you're nothing?" She shook her head slowly. "Not directly. He told me to stay with him, but his wife..." She looked at me as if I was dirt under her shoe. "I left on my own. I thought maybe he would come find me. It's been weeks." "He hasn't." I stared at her frail hands trembling in her lap. "What's his name?" "Rahil." I repeated it silently, burning it into my memory. "Rahil." Mira let out a tired breath. "I thought giving him everything would mean he'd love me back. But love doesn't always return, does it?" Her words pierced me because they weren't just hers, they were mine. I shifted uncomfortably. "I know what it feels like. To be betrayed by someone you trusted more than anyone." Her eyes lifted to me again, curious. "You too?" I nodded. My throat tightened, but I forced the words out. "I had a friend. A brother, almost. We built dreams together. I shared everything with him. Then when I was at my weakest, he stole it all. Even the woman I loved." Mira's eyes softened. "And what did you do?" "What could I do?" I muttered. I walked away, told myself it didn't matter, but the truth is it broke me, left me hollow. Her hand, weak but steady, touched mine. "You think leaving means weakness, but sometimes leaving is the only way to survive." I swallowed hard, staring at her fragile form wrapped in my scarf. She was shivering less now, but her voice still shook. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked quietly. "Because," she said, "I see the same darkness in your eyes that I see in mine. Maybe fate put us here so neither of us would drown alone tonight." I exhaled, the air fogging between us. "Maybe you're right." She leaned back against the wall, her breath visible in the cold. "Do you ever wonder if karma is real, Armin? If people who betray us ever truly pay for what they've done?" "All the time," I admitted. "But waiting for karma feels like waiting for a train that never comes." Her laugh was short, bitter. "And yet here we are sitting in a train station." That made me chuckle despite myself. "Fair point." We fell into silence again, the kind that isn't empty but heavy with unspoken pain. Finally, I said, "Mira, do you have somewhere to go tonight? A shelter? A friend?" She shook her head. "No, shelters are full, friends. Long gone. Then come with me, at least until morning. We'll figure something out." Her eyes widened. "Why would you do that for a stranger?" "Because once I wished someone would do the same for me. But no one did." Tears welled in her eyes. "You don't know how long it's been since someone looked at me as more than a burden." I didn't answer. I just stood and held out my hand. "Come on. Let's get out of the cold." She hesitated, then slipped her fragile fingers into mine. Her grip was surprisingly firm for someone so weak. As we walked, she whispered, Armin, do you believe our stories mean anything? Or are they just pain scattered in the wind? I looked at her, at the lines etched deep into her face, at the strength hidden behind her fragility. I think our stories matter, even the painful ones, maybe especially those. Her lips trembled again, but this time it wasn't from the cold. Then maybe meeting you tonight means mine isn't over yet. I squeezed her hand gently. Neither is mine. We walked together toward the dim glow of the exit, two broken souls drawn by something larger than chance. And though the night was still freezing, for the first time in years I felt a spark of warmth inside me. The cafe door creaked as I pushed it open, guiding Mira inside. The warm air hit us like a blessing. A waiter gave us a curious glance, but I ignored it and led her to a corner table. "Sit here," I said, pulling out the chair. Mira lowered herself slowly, her hands trembling as she touched the wooden surface. I ordered 2 teas and slid one toward her when it arrived. "Drink," I urged. She lifted the cup carefully, sipping as though afraid it would vanish. Steam curled around her face, softening the lines of exhaustion. "Better?" I asked. Her eyes watered. "Much. Thank you, Armand. No one has been this kind in a long time." "You don't need to thank me," I said. "Just tell me more. You said your son left you. Why?" Her gaze dropped to the cup. "Raheel, that's his name. He promised me after his father's death that I'd never be alone. He swore I was his world. I believed him." Her voice cracked. "What changed?" I pressed. "Money," she whispered. "Ambition. He married into a wealthy family, people who looked down on me. At first I stayed quiet, but soon I became invisible in my own home. His wife despised me, called me a burden. Raheel didn't defend me. He stopped looking me in the eye. One day I packed my bag and left. I thought he'd follow. He didn't." I clenched my jaw. "So he just let you go? Like nothing?" Her lips trembled. "Yes, he chose comfort over blood." Her words stabbed at my chest. I knew that kind of betrayal too well. "Mira," I said carefully, "I know how that feels. Different story, same wound." She studied me. "Tell me," I swallowed hard. "I had a friend once, Aryan. We grew up together, planned everything together. We dreamed of starting a business, something that would change our lives. I trusted him with every idea, every detail." Her eyes sharpened. And one day he stole it. The business, the investors, everything. He left me with nothing. But that wasn't the worst part." Mira leaned closer. "What was?" "He took Nisha," I said, my throat tightening. "The woman I loved. She chose him. Together they built a life on everything they stole from me." Mira gasped softly. "And you? What did you do?" "What could I do?" I muttered. "I walked away. I told myself I was strong enough to move on. But every night I felt hollow. Their laughter haunted me more than my own silence." She set her cup down, her hands trembling. "Betrayal doesn't just break us. It rewrites us. I was a mother, and now I'm discarded. You were a friend, and now you're forgotten." Her words echoed in me like a curse. "Do you think they'll ever regret it?" I asked, my voice low. Mira tilted her head. "Do you want them to regret it, or do you want them to suffer?" The question startled me. I looked at her, really looked. Beneath her frail frame was steel. "I don't know," I admitted. "Sometimes I want to forgive just to be free. Other times, I want them to feel every ounce of the pain they gave me." Her eyes glistened. "Then we are alike. I dream every night that Raheel will come back begging, but I also dream that he loses everything he left me for." I rubbed my temples. "It's strange, isn't it? How love turns into poison." She chuckled bitterly. "Strange? No, it's human. People choose greed, pride, comfort. They forget the hands that fed them. They forget the hearts that trusted them, and when they fall, they wonder why no one catches them." I stared at her in silence. Her words were harsh, but they carried truth. "Armand," she said suddenly, "do you still love her, Nisha?" The question sliced through me. I looked down. "I don't know. Maybe I love who she used to be, or maybe I just love the illusion I built. The real Nisha, the one who chose Aryan. I don't know her anymore. And him, Aryan," my jaw tightened. "I hate him. But sometimes I hate myself more. For trusting him, for not fighting back." Mira's hand reached across the table, fragile yet steady. "Don't hate yourself. The fault lies with the betrayer, not the betrayed." I met her gaze. "But doesn't silence make me weak?" "No," she said firmly. "Silence makes you survive. Strength comes later. You'll see." I let her words settle. The cafe around us hummed softly, cups clinking, quiet conversations, but none of it mattered. Only her voice, only her story, only the reflection of my pain in her eyes. Maybe fate put us together, I said after a long pause. So we wouldn't drown alone, she smiled faintly. Or maybe fate wants us to remember we're not as powerless as we think. Her words lit a spark inside me, small but alive. The waiter approached, asking if we wanted anything else. I shook my head. Just the bill. Mira sipped the last of her tea, her eyes distant. Armin, do you think betrayal always ends in tragedy? Not always, I said slowly. Sometimes it ends in transformation. The betrayer loses more than they ever gained, and the betrayed learns to rise. She nodded, her eyes shimmering. Then maybe our stories aren't endings. Maybe they're beginnings. As we stood to leave, I slipped my coat around her shoulders. She protested weakly, but I didn't let her refuse. Keep it, I said. I'll manage. Her lips trembled. You remind me of the son I wished Raheel had been. I swallowed the lump in my throat. And you remind me of the mother I never had. We stepped out into the cold night again, but this time the air didn't feel as sharp. Something had shifted between us. I didn't know where the path ahead would lead, but I knew one thing. I wasn't alone anymore. And maybe, just maybe, that was the beginning of everything. The night air wrapped around us as we walked toward the shelter. The streets were nearly empty, and the crunch of our footsteps echoed louder than it should have. Mira leaned slightly on my arm, her breathing steady but shallow. After a few minutes, she broke the silence. Why do your eyes look so heavy, Armin? Like you're carrying chains around your neck. I laughed bitterly. Chains? That's one way to put it. Her gaze slid to me. You're hiding something. Pain doesn't just sit quietly, it seeps out. I kept walking, but her words dug into me. You really want to know? Yes, she said firmly. Tell me. Let me carry a piece of your weight. I hesitated. For years I had locked it all away, telling myself silence was survival. But here she was, fragile and broken in her own way, asking to share my burden. Fine, I whispered. But don't say I didn't warn you. She gave a small smile. I've lived through betrayal myself. I won't run from yours. We turned a corner, the glow of the shelter sign flickering in the distance. I took a deep breath. His name was Arian, I began. We were inseparable, brothers, though not by blood. We built dreams together, plans for a company, ideas that kept us awake at night. I trusted him with everything. Mira stayed silent, waiting. Then one day, I continued, he took it all. Every detail, every blueprint, he pitched it as his own. The investors believed him, and just like that, he left me in the dust. Her sharp intake of breath made me glance at her. Her face was pale but alert. That's not the worst part, I said. My throat tightened. The woman I loved, Nisha, chose him. I thought she believed in me, in us. But when he succeeded, she walked away and stood beside him. They built a life on everything they stole from me. Mira's eyes glistened under the streetlight. And you, what did you do? What could I do? My voice cracked. I let them win. I told myself it was strength to walk away, but inside I was dying. Every laugh they shared was a knife. Every headline about their success was another reminder of my failure. She gripped my hand suddenly, her frail fingers stronger than I expected. Listen to me, Armin. Betrayal does not end a life. It begins a fight. Her words burned into me. I stopped walking, staring at her. A fight? I lost everything. What fight is left? She shook her head slowly. No. You lost battles, not the war. People like Arian and Nisha, they climb fast, but their foundations are hollow. And people like us, we endure. That's where true strength is born. I swallowed hard, my chest tight. You really believe that? Yes, she said firmly. Look at me. My own son abandoned me, but I'm still here. I'm still breathing. As long as we breathe, we fight. I let out a shaky laugh. You sound stronger than anyone I know, Mira. Her lips curved into a sad smile. Strength doesn't come from ease. It comes from surviving what should have killed you. Her words struck me deeper than I wanted to admit. I hadn't thought of myself as a survivor, only as someone left behind. We reached the shelter steps. She paused, gripping the railing, then turned back to me. Armin, do you still love her? The question made my stomach twist. Nisha, I don't know. Maybe I loved who she pretended to be. Or maybe I just loved the dream we shared, but the woman who betrayed me. No. I don't know her anymore. And him? Aryan? She asked quietly. My hands curled into fists. I hate him. But sometimes I hate myself more. For trusting him, for being blind, for walking away. Mira's eyes softened. Don't waste hate on yourself. That's what betrayal feeds on. Your silence, your self-blame. You didn't fail. They did. I blinked at her. No one had ever said that to me. Not once. Her voice grew firmer. You think humiliation defines you, but one day it will define them, mark my words. I stared at her, feeling heat rise in my chest. Anger, sorrow, something else I couldn't name. She reached for my hand again. Promise me, Armin. Promise me you won't bury yourself under their sins. I promise to try, I whispered. No, she said sharply. Not try. Do it. Stand again. Show them they didn't break you. Her intensity startled me. For a moment, she looked less like a broken woman and more like a warrior cloaked in fragile skin. We entered the shelter, warmth flooding over us. The staff welcomed us kindly, guiding Mira toward a cot. She sank down, exhausted but still gripping my hand. Stay, she murmured. Just for tonight. I sat beside her, listening to the quiet hum of the shelter. Arman, she whispered. Don't let your wounds rot inside you. Speak them, share them, and then turn them into fire. I met her gaze. You really believe I can? She nodded slowly. Yes, because I see the fight in you, even if you don't. Her certainty unnerved me but also steadied me. For years I thought I was finished. But looking at her, abandoned yet unbroken, I felt something stir inside me. Maybe I wasn't finished after all. The shelter lights flickered as I paced outside, my breath forming clouds in the night air. Mira's words from the night before still rang in my head. As long as we breathe, we fight. I didn't feel like a fighter, but something inside me had shifted. Armin, Mira called softly from the doorway, wrapped in a blanket Farida had given her. You walk like a storm is chasing you. Sit. I shook my head. If I sit, I'll sink. I need to move. Her eyes narrowed. No, you need to decide. Will you let betrayal define you? Or will you define what comes after? I exhaled sharply. They look happy, Mira. Aryan, Nisha. Every time I see their faces in the papers, they look like they're winning. She walked closer, her fragile frame steady despite the cold. Happiness built on broken backs is a mask. Masks slip. Her conviction burned hotter than the night air. A voice behind us broke the silence. Armin, I turned. My cousin Rehan stood there, shoulders broad, his familiar grin fading when he saw Mira. Who's this? A friend, I said quickly. This is Mira. Rehan gave her a respectful nod. Good evening, Auntie. Mira smiled faintly. Good evening, young man. He looked back at me. It's been a while. Where have you been hiding? I shrugged, trying to breathe. He studied me, then lowered his voice. Still thinking about them, aren't you? Aryan and... He didn't finish her name. Yes, I admitted. And every time I try to bury it, it digs deeper. Rehan's jaw tightened. Then stop burying it. Do something. Mira's eyes lit up. Exactly what I told him. Rise. Rehan raised a brow. She's right. You can't keep letting them live rent-free in your head. I looked at both of them. And what? Attack them? Destroy them? That's not who I am. Mira touched my arm. Justice doesn't always need fire. Sometimes patience is the blade. Rehan smirked. But sometimes fire is the only thing that works. Their voices clashed inside me. Patience, fire, justice, revenge. I felt torn between them, but for the first time I didn't feel powerless. Later, inside the shelter, Farida walked over with steaming bowls of soup. Her warm smile contrasted with the chaos in my mind. "You two look serious," she said, placing the bowls down. "We're talking about betrayal," Mira answered quietly. Farida's face softened. The oldest wound. "I see it here every day," I frowned. "How do you heal it?" "You don't," she said simply. "You live around it. But sometimes helping someone else is the closest thing to healing yourself." Her words stuck to me like glue. I glanced at Mira, who nodded slowly as if confirming the truth in Farida's voice. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat near the window, watching the city lights blink in the distance. Every shadow looked like Arian's smirk. Every flicker looked like Nisha's laugh. My fist clenched. Mira's voice drifted from her cot. "You're awake?" "Yeah. You dream of revenge, don't you?" I hesitated. "Every night. And does it comfort you?" "No," I admitted. "It burns me alive." She sat up, her blanket slipping from her shoulders. "Then stop letting it burn you. Shape it. Turn it into something that builds, not destroys." I met her eyes. "And if I can't?" "Then I'll remind you," she said firmly. "Until you believe it." The next morning, Rayhan dragged me outside. "You need strength," he said. "Not just words," I laughed. "What, you want me to start training? Punch my pain out?" "Maybe," he said with a grin. "Or maybe I just don't want to watch you rot." His bluntness stung, but it was laced with care. We walked by a newspaper stand. A headline screamed about Arian's company landing another deal. His smiling face beside Nisha's burned into my eyes. Rayhan saw my expression. "Hurts?" "Like acid," I muttered. "Good," he said. "Let it, but don't drown in it." "Use it," I wanted to argue, but Mira's words from last night replayed. "Shape it." By the time we returned, Farida was tending to Mira with tea. She glanced at me and smiled gently. "You carry storms in your chest, Armin, but storms can bring rain, and rain makes things grow." I stared at her, unsettled. Everyone kept telling me to rise, to build, to use the pain, and slowly I felt it. The fire inside me, restless, hungry, waiting. That evening, Mira sat across from me at the small table in the shelter's dining hall. Her eyes gleamed despite the dim light. "Armin," she said, "make me a promise." "What kind?" "Promise me you won't beg. Promise me you won't break. Promise me you'll rise." Her words hung in the air like an oath. I nodded slowly. "I promise." Her hand clasped mine. Then we rise together. For the first time, the chains around my chest loosened. The fire inside me no longer felt like destruction. It felt like beginning. The shelter buzzed with whispers that morning. People clutched newspapers, pointing at the bold headlines. I caught fragments as I passed by. Fraud, collapse, betrayal. Rayhan waved me over. "Armin, you need to see this." I frowned. "What is it now?" He shoved the paper into my hands. Arian's face stared back at me, polished but pale under the headline, "Business Tycoon Exposed in Massive Fraud." My chest tightened. "Fraud?" Rayhan nodded grimly. "They caught him. Fake contracts, stolen funds, everything. It's everywhere." Mira's frail voice floated behind me. "Mask slip, remember?" I turned. She stood by the doorway, Farida steadying her arm. Her eyes locked on the paper. "Read it, Armin," I swallowed. "It says his empire is crumbling. Investigations, lawsuits. Even his investors are abandoning him." Mira exhaled, her shoulders trembling. "Truth doesn't hurry, but it never fails." Farida leaned closer, her voice soft but firm. "And look at this." She pointed to the side column. Another headline read, "Heir accused of abandoning mother in cold night." My stomach dropped. "Rahil?" Mira's lips trembled as Farida unfolded another page. A grainy photo showed Mira herself outside the station, wrapped in my scarf. Mira covered her mouth. "That's me," Farida explained. "A journalist heard my story when I mentioned you two. They wanted the truth out." Mira's eyes glistened. "So the city knows?" Rayhan smirked. "More than knows. They're furious. Everyone's calling him heartless." I turned the page, reading aloud. "Local businessman Rahil Khan accused of abandoning his elderly mother to freeze in the winter cold. Witnesses confirm she was found at the station, alone and helpless." Mira pressed a hand to her chest. "Alone and helpless?" Those words cut, but they are true. I shook my head. "Not alone anymore, Mira." Her gaze softened on me. "Not alone," she repeated. Rehan leaned back against the wall, arms crossed. So let's get this straight. Aryan's empire is rotting. Nisha's picture-perfect smile is cracking, and Rahil's reputation is buried. I clenched the paper. And none of it was by my hand. Mira whispered, that's why it is justice. Pure untwisted justice. Silence lingered. Then Rehan broke it with a grin. How does it feel, cousin? I hesitated, expecting joy. But all I felt was calm, like chains falling off. Not happiness, not revenge, just freedom. Farida smiled gently. That's what healing feels like. Mira's voice trembled. For years I begged for Rahil to see me. I thought if I stayed silent he would return. But tonight I cry not from pain, but from release. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I reached for her hand. You don't cry alone anymore. She squeezed my fingers, whispering, thank you. Rehan cleared his throat. You know, Armin, I always thought you'd burn them yourself. I didn't expect the world to do it for you. I allowed a faint smile. Maybe that's the lesson. I didn't need to swing the sword. I only needed to stand, Mira nodded. Standing is harder than striking, but it lasts longer. Farida added, and now the city stands with you both. That is no small thing. The shelter door opened, a young volunteer rushing in with another paper. It's getting worse for them, he blurted out. We turned. He spread the paper on the table. Nisha's being dragged on social media. People are calling her a snake, saying she knew everything. Rehan chuckled. Perfect queen turned villain overnight. I stared at the photo. Her flawless smile now looked brittle, almost desperate. For years I dreamed of her apology, her regret. But now seeing her image tarnished, I felt no victory. Only distance. She made her choice, I muttered. And now she wears it, Mira whispered. The cruel hands of truth are slow, but they never miss. Rehan leaned toward me. So what now? Their empire's collapsing. The world's mocking them. You finally got what you wanted. What's next? I thought of the sleepless nights, the fire that nearly devoured me. And now, silence. I move on, I said firmly, because revenge was never the destination. Freedom was. Mira's tears glimmered as she whispered, and freedom, my son, is yours. The words sank deep. For years I had been nothing but betrayed, humiliated, forgotten. But tonight, as the betrayers fell under their own weight, I finally felt whole. The shelter around us hummed with chatter, but I only heard Mira's breathing beside me, steady and alive. Justice had arrived, not by blade, not by rage, but by truth, and truth was enough. I stood at the train station again, the same corner where I had first seen Mira trembling, her torn coat clinging to her bones. But tonight it looked different, brighter, warmer, alive. Mira's voice broke through my thoughts. Strange, isn't it? The place that almost killed me is now where I feel most alive, I smiled faintly. Because you're not alone here anymore. She leaned on her cane, her scarf wrapped snugly around her neck. And neither are you. Rehan joined us, carrying paper cups of coffee. I swear you two haunt this station like it's a temple, Mira chuckled. It is a temple of second chances. I accepted a cup. Rehan, you wouldn't understand, he smirked. Try me. I looked at the tracks shimmering under the lights. This place used to feel like an open wound. But now when I stand here, I don't feel chains anymore, just release. Farida appeared with a bag of bread for the shelter. I think what he's saying is this place became a beginning, not an end. Mira's eyes softened. Exactly. That night, when he gave me his scarf, I thought I was being saved. But really, we saved each other. I shook my head. No, Mira, you saved me. You gave me fire when I thought I was ash. She touched my hand lightly. And you gave me family when I thought I was dust. Rehan raised his cup. To family, then. We clinked cups. The sound of trains rumbled around us, but the noise no longer drowned me. It lifted me. Farida asked, Do you ever think about them? Aryan and Nisha? I hesitated. Sometimes. But not with hate anymore. More like remembering shadows. They can't touch me now. Mira studied my face. Because you chose to let karma fight for you. Yes, I admitted. Revenge would have left me empty, but watching truth break them, that gave me peace. Rehan muttered. Still, I wouldn't have minded a little revenge. We laughed. Mira's voice softened. What about Nisha? Do you still love her? I sighed. I loved the girl I thought she was. But she doesn't exist anymore. What remains is someone else's problem, not mine. Farida smiled knowingly. You've grown, Arman. Betrayal didn't destroy you. It built you. Her words sank deep. Yes, for years I thought I was broken. But now I see I was only waiting to rebuild. Mira nodded firmly. Brick by brick, I turned to her. You know, Mira, people at the shelter call you a survivor. But to me, you're a teacher. Her eyes watered. And you, my son, are proof that no winter lasts forever. We stood in silence, the wind brushing past like a gentle hand instead of a slap. Rehan broke it. So what's next? You've got freedom, family, a second chance. What do you build now? I thought for a moment. A life. Not a perfect one, but one that's mine. With you, with Farida, with Mira. A life where betrayal doesn't define me. Mira whispered. A life where love does. Her words tightened my chest. Not in pain, but in gratitude. Farida glanced around the platform. Funny how fate works. If you hadn't stopped that night, none of this would exist, I chuckled. At first I thought it was an accident. Now I know it was fate. Rehan raised an eyebrow. Fate, huh? You've gone poetic on me. Maybe, I admitted. But fate gave me pain so I could learn. And fate gave me Mira so I could rise. Mira leaned on my shoulder. And fate gave me you so I could believe again. Farida placed the bread bag down. Then let's honor fate by helping others. There are more Miras out there waiting at cold stations. I nodded. We'll find them. We'll keep building. Rehan clapped my back. That's the Armin I know. Not the broken one, but the fighter. I smirked. Not a fighter. A survivor. The train pulled in, its headlights washing us in gold. Passengers hurried, footsteps echoing. For a moment I saw myself in them. Lost, rushed, chasing shadows. But I no longer belonged to that chaos. Mira whispered. Cold nights don't scare me anymore. Because you're not facing them alone, I said. She smiled, her wrinkles glowing under the station lights. Yes, together even the cold feels warm. I looked at her, at Rehan, at Farida. Family isn't blood. It's who stays when everyone else leaves. Farida's eyes shimmered. Then we stay. Rehan raised his coffee again. We stay. Mira lifted her trembling hand. We stay, I lifted mine last. We stay. The train roared, then faded into the distance, leaving only silence and the soft hum of the night. I breathed deeply, the cold air filling me, not choking me. For the first time in years, I felt whole. That night at the station had seemed like a cruel accident. But standing there now with my new family around me, I knew the truth. It was fate. Fate that stripped me, burned me, broke me. But also fate that gave me strength, love, and a second chance. And in the middle of the cold night, I felt warm. I never thought my life would be rewritten by a single cold night at a train station. I had carried betrayal like chains for years, chains so heavy I forgot how to stand. Arian's lies, Nisha's abandonment, the humiliation of being left behind. It all lived inside me like a storm that refused to die. I thought I would drown in it. Then I saw her. Mira, fragile, shivering, but still alive. Her eyes carried the same storm, yet when she looked at me, I didn't see defeat. I saw endurance. That night, when I wrapped my scarf around her shoulders, I thought I was giving her warmth. In truth, she was giving me fire. Together, we carried our scars. Together, we faced betrayal's shadow. And when karma struck, I realized revenge had never been my path. Justice does not always need my hand. Sometimes it simply waits for its time. What mattered was not their fall, it was my rise. I rose because Mira believed in me. I rose because Rehan stood beside me. I rose because Farida reminded me that healing can be found in helping others. And now, when I walk through cold nights, I no longer fear them. I no longer see chains. I see fate, fate that burned me but also rebuilt me. I end my story with these words. Betrayal may freeze you, but kindness can thaw even the coldest night.